Here we go. Well, so welcome everyone. I'm Cindy Myers, and tonight's webinar, we're going to talk about how stress gets our mind spinning and looping about. So I've been experiencing that a lot myself these days. So I thought this is a good topic since I know I'm not alone in that area where we just kind of keep rehashing thoughts or uh, the mind just takes over the hamster wheel. Hop on that hamster wheel. So we're going to talk about that and what we can do to hop off that hamster wheel. And if you have any questions or like more information about me and my services, you can check out my website, yourenergyhealer.com. Before we get going, though, if you're experiencing a medical emergency, please call 911 or your physician. But what I can do for you in emergency situation is provide energy support, which allows your natural healing abilities to kick in and support your bodies while you're also getting medical attention. And it can also help just relieve some of the stress and anxiety and help calm you down a little bit. So feel free, if you're having a medical emergency, to call me in addition to your physicians. So let's talk about that looping mind. And maybe if you want to put it into chat box, what are some of the things that spin? Do you have certain issues that keep cropping up, and then you kind of keep mulling it over and over? Do you wake up at maybe 2 a.m. and have them pop in and just take over, and you can't go back to sleep because you keep rehashing conversations, or maybe you're worrying about the next day's meetings, or or the world events? We have plenty of things out there that can really push our buttons. But what puts you on that hamster wheel? It's important to become conscious of it, because a lot of times we don't even realize it, that we're on that hamster wheel. That's the hard part, really, is we really don't realize how much of our day's thoughts are spent on that hamster wheel. So it's important to start noticing the subtle signs that, as I call it, though, the lizard brain has just taken over. So noticing what patterns, what trends, what habits start happening when we get triggered and we go onto that hamster wheel. How do you deal with it? How does your body handle it? Is there some indication from your body that it's going into lizard brain or has just hopped onto lizard brain? Mine, again, it's the spinning. I notice I keep thinking of the same thing over and over. Or sometimes I feel it in my body. My stomach takes the initial thing is a little flop in my stomach. It goes, and then my heart starts to race. I can feel my heart going up. And then some of my coping mechanisms of it, being an engineer, sometimes I'll do math. I'll start doing numbers. I'll start crunching numbers if it's a financial concern. I start thinking about how do I do things, and I start crunching numbers. It's a numbers game. And I know it's weird, but counting helps me. I calm down by counting. So what are my coping mechanisms when I go into it? And then my problem solving in certain situations, it follows the same pattern. And usually the outcome isn't the best, right? It was like, oh, why did I decide to do that? Why did I hire that person? It felt like the right thing at the time, and yet it wasn't the right thing because I was doing it out of my fear brain instead of my conscious brain. So it's learning, when is my fear brain taking over? And as I said, it is really subtle, and it's really hard to sometimes tell the difference when we're in our lizard brain, because it sounds the same. It's the same voice. So that's why it's so hard. So we have to start looking at what other subtle signs we're in so that we can use them in the tools that we're going to talk about in a minute or two. How do we get ourselves out of it? So this was a good example. I just had this happen yesterday. I was getting ready to, I actually step back a little bit. thank you everybody for the birthday wishes, because I had a birthday last week. And one of the things I like to do from my birthday gift to me is to do something different. I like to try a new modality that pushes me, and or I can grow, learn something new, a different modality in the intuitive world. Or in this case, I decided I'm going to hire a business coach. And so I was interviewing different business coaches, and this one, they actually did very good because they put me right into my lizard brain, and I had to process out, well, are they the right one to hire because they're triggering me and saying all the right things, or is it not the right thing because I'm triggered and they said all the right things? So I had to pull myself, but I recognized that I went into lizard brain, and I went, I'm not making the decision to hire somebody while I'm in lizard brain. So let's pull myself out. And to do so was, my best way of thinking for me and getting myself out of it is to rake up my alpaca manure. I call it crappy therapy. So as I'm because it's very mindless. You don't have to expend a whole lot of thought and problem solving, raking up alpaca manure. But it's out in the fresh air. You're moving. You're actually getting both sides of your brain talking. And by breathing and becoming conscious of it, using my tools that we're going to talk about in a little bit, I can pull myself out of it, and I can start now using my bigger, hopefully my bigger thinking brain to go, okay, what just triggered me? Is this a good fit? Why would that be a good fit? How would I ask? What other questions should I ask this person that wouldn't trigger me, and see if that they still are a right fit? And by the way, they weren't the right fit because I went through and analyzed a few more things of what set me off. So by recognizing it this time, I stopped that pattern of hiring somebody because they pushed my buttons. And I thought, oh, they're going to help me. And that really wasn't the right person. So but it was taking back then by taking that few minutes, not reacting from lizard brain telling me what to do. I was able to see patterns. I was able to problem solve. I was able to see things from a different perspective, and then decide, who do I want to make that decision? Because truly lizard brain makes really bad decisions most of the time. So that's why we want to work really hard to get out of that lizard brain. But that's the key, is to try and see what are the subtle signs. And I knew it because it was spinning over things. I started doing my math and I could feel it in my heart, and my chest was beating much faster. So I had certain signs going, okay, I'm triggered. And I kept going back into my safe place of, how do I solve this problem? And they're going, no, that's not the right way. That's keeping me in lizard brain. So then it was still breathe, do some gratitude, take a moment, keep breathing, slow myself down. Well, how else could I look at it? What's another perspective? What would it take to think of this in a different way? And then I went, oh yeah, let's look at back. Oh yeah, I see the pattern. Okay. And I could feel myself calming down. And there was a total shift in energy when I went, I need to ask a certain question. I want this answered by this person first before I ever would agree to them, and see how they answer this question. And I went, yeah, I like that. And it was a totally different feel. And now I'm not in lizard brain. And now all of a sudden, more ideas, more thoughts came of what is it exactly that I'm looking for. Okay. So taking that time and not just knee-jerk reacting and hopping on the lizard brain and expecting them to your lizard brain mind to come up with really good answers is not the way to go. So let's talk about how that happens though. So again, emotions are just chemicals our bodies create to relate to an experience we're having. And so, and emotions are just energy. And if you break it down into the molecular and atomic level, it goes into energy, right? It's all energy. It becomes a frequency, and we can radiate out, become little mini radars, and we transmit out these emotions and we receive these emotions. We can transmit it out, we can pick them up from everybody else. That's how it works. It's nothing really, it's not rocket science, because I know I have a degree in that. So, but it's simple, but it's complex. Okay. And And what happens too, though, because they're frequencies, these emotions are frequencies, they have different speeds about them. Some move really fast, some move really slow. And negative emotions actually are on the slower end of the scale. They move really slow. That's why they're so easy to get stuck in our bodies, because they just kind of lumber along, and they have a magnetic component to them. So they like to latch on to emotions in our bodies, and they lodge in our different parts of our body, because we have organs and tissues that also have a natural frequency that vibrate at a certain one. And they go, oh, I like the liver. That sounds like a good place to lodge. It lodges there. Or lower back. You know what? We're getting ready for lower back season issues, and that is around tax time. So I get a lot of customers around tax time that start suffering lower back, because there's some vibrational component. And it makes sense. Lower back would be because around where the second chakra is, which is around where money issues come up. So a lot of times around second, third areas. So right. So we get lower back issues. So the lower frequency emotions really like to get lodged in. They also have a component of fear. They all have some component of the fear chemical. Think of baking. You know, you have kind of, I'm not a very good baker, but think of if you're making cookies, they kind of have, some standard ingredients that go into your cookies, and then you have extra special ones that make it more unique for whatever kind of cookie you're making. But they all have flour and sugar and, oil and water and whatever. There's certain ingredients, right? So in the negative emotions, the certain standard ingredient for negative emotions is called fear. And once we start talking about fear, we're talking about the fight or flight response system. That's what puts us onto the hamster wheel. We get triggered. We have pretty much 3 basic responses. There's more, but I think we can identify very easily those 3 reactions when we go into a fear state. We want to run, we want to fight, we want to freeze. And those are pretty much, that's why lizard brain doesn't make very good decisions, because it really only has those 3 areas of making a decision. It's like, do I want to freeze? Do I want to run away? Or do I want to fight? And we tend to have 1 or 2 of those methods, or depending on the issue, we may choose one of those responses. That's why we have those patterns. So that's where it comes into the patterns and trends and habits, is because that lizard brain is only going to pick one of those 3 methods. So, do you procrastinate? You have a big project and you can't get it done because you keep procrastinating. Freeze, right? Avoiding something. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to run away. I got to do taxes, but you know what? I got to do laundry. That's run. Oh, you know what? I got to start cleaning and dusting the house. Oh, there's cobwebs. Oh, you know what? Time to wash the car. I'm running away from the problem. Okay. The thing that I don't want to do. Or I get mad. I get into fights. I get into altercations, get triggered, and I just fly off the handle. Okay. That's the fight. So you only have 3 things to pretty much pick from. Okay. So that's why we don't really want lizard brain to make those decisions of what we want to do. Okay. We want to get out of that fight or flight response system in order to decide what is the best thing to ourselves. And you know what else it does when we're in that triggered state? Really hard to hear spirit coming through and talking to us. It is really hard to hear the intuition that's coming in and talking to us. Okay. So intuition and the fight or flight response system do not talk to each other very well. So we have to really overcome, because spirit's trying to help us. It's sending us information on what to do, but we can't hear it because we're too busy reacting. Okay. So we can't hear the other things very well. So when we realize it, you can figure out your tells of when you're going into the fight or flight response system, then we can get into solving some of the problems. Okay, so I like this chart. I've shown it a couple times now, and it's always worth showing again, because if you kind of absorb it, the more I show it to you, the more hopefully it integrates into your thinking and your mindset. And it also is related to kind of the lizard brain versus our thinking brain. So the circle of concern is lizard brain. Okay, that is the fight or flight response, and it's filled with all the negative emotions of anger, fear, worry, grief, depression, uh, hatred. Any of those negative emotions are in that circle of concern. And you know what? We might have a legitimate reason to be worried. You know, if it's a family member and they're not well, or they're doing something maybe dangerous or risky or whatever. You can't help sometimes worry about our close immediate family or our pets. You know, we're worried about something going on with them. They can't help feeling that way, but at the same time, understand if you've got to make a big decision around that issue, you're in lizard brain. So we need some tools to get us out of it, because the place that we can have real impact is in the circle of influence, because that is an area where we actually have impact on it. Circle of concern, a lot of times we can spend all day long. It's the hamster wheel. We can spend all night thinking about it. And did anything productive come out of that? Staying up all night or worrying and stewing over that issue? No, you just had a really bad night's sleep, and now you're more tired and you're more likely to stay in lizard brain while you're dealing with the problem with that meeting. And now you're in lizard brain while you're trying to have a discussion and having a complex, being able to access complex ideas and thoughts and getting ideas across, right? But you're in lizard brain, so it's really hard to do that. So getting ourselves out and going into the circle of influence is really key, because now you have impact. Now we can get into if nothing else, we're in a higher frequency energy. And again, we're radars. If we're emitting radars, if I'm worried about somebody, do I want that energy going out to them, even though I really love them? I use the example of my niece all the time. She likes to rock climb. And to me, it's like, oh, I just want to, it scares the pity wits out of myself when I see her pictures of her hanging on a cliffside way the heck up on a mountainside somewhere. So when I hear she's going, my initial reaction is to start worrying, right? But I don't want that energy to go to her. So I do my tools, which we're going to talk about next. And instead, I send her some different energy. I send a bubble of white light. Instead of worrying about her, I go, nope, I don't want that energy to radiate out towards her. So I'm going to radiate a nice, safe bubble of white light so that she has a great time, but she's safe and sound and she comes home in one piece, right? And so I picture all that and word it very carefully so that it has the results that I really want to have happen. So if I were in a meeting or want to have a discussion, or like with my discussion meeting with the business coach that wasn't quite the right fit, the second phone call, I didn't want to go into lizard brain. So I really worked on tuning myself to the higher frequency. I could stay in my conscious brain. I wasn't triggered by any of the questions asked of me. These help to encourage me to buy from him, right? Because a lot of people like to buy when you get you into your brain, right? Because you can be manipulated a little bit easier, right? And he wasn't doing that, but it does happen. That's why advertising. Look at all the advertising out on the TV. They push fear. They push fear, and then they tell you how they're going to save you, right? So that's how marketing works for certain things. They don't want us to always have to push fear. We can get into our conscious brain and make a better decision. Is this the right thing for me? And knowing and trusting yourself, so then now with your higher self guiding you and your intuition guiding you, you can judge a whole lot better now. Is this the right thing for me? And as opposed to lizard brain going, yes, this is going to save your life. That's not what you want, right? So circle of influence, you want to spend as little time on that. But what also I like the title of these two circles, because I can ask myself that. Am I just worrying? Am I in the circle of concern? Because that's not productive. That's a waste of time. I'm on my hamster wheel. Okay, I rather switch over to a circle of influence. What can I have impact on? What is more productive? I'd rather spend most of my time and my energy. I have a limited amount of energy every day. So I'd rather spend 99%, 95, 85% of my day in that circle of influence versus circle of concern. And when I first saw this chart, and it's by Stephen Covey, by the way, from his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When I first saw this, I went, oh my gosh, I spend probably 90% of my time in the circle of concern. What a waste of time. And it was really that much in that circle of concern. I spent a lot of time worrying about stuff that I just had no say in and had no impact on. And when I realized that, I went, I'd rather spend more time in that circle of influence. So how do I do that? And so it was a very life-changing thing, attitude shift and understanding. And I didn't understand lizard brain and other stuff, but that really taught me a lot, just knowing that's a waste of time and energy, spending that much time worrying about stuff that I have no impact on by worrying about it. So if I can have some impact on it, that's where I want to put my energy and my focus on. Okay. So how do we do it? So how can we take care of ourselves and get ourselves out of that lizard brain and all that? So it's really cool. It has to be easy. Trust me, because again, lizard brain is very reactionary. It's a switch. It happens very quickly. So, and again, we have those 3 things, the way we think. So we have to overcome that. And so it has to be super simple. So the first thing we do is just breathe. And like I said, in the morning, I was breathing. I spent a time as I was raking up my alpaca manure. I just focused on breathing, slowing my breath down because my heart was racing and my stomach was lurching. I could feel my breath go more shallow. So the first thing I did was really concentrate on taking nice full breaths. You can do the breathing in 4s. That's a good one to help me slow down the breathing. So I just take in a slow, deep breath on a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, release on a count of 4, wait for a 4 count, and then just start the whole process over again. If you do that whole cycle 4 times, that pretty much will help you get out of lizard brain just by doing that alone. Sometimes we're pretty hard into the lizard brain, so we might need a little extra. So if the breathing in 4s doesn't pull you out, and you can feel a shift, you can usually feel your body relaxing, your heart rate goes down. If that doesn't do enough, then I like to add in an emotion, a high frequency emotion, one of those really high frequency emotions. So love or above, I call it love or above. So you want love, joy, gratitude. And I quite often pick gratitude because it's a very high frequency. It's actually higher than love. And it doesn't have to do with anything that I'm worried about. I just want to find 3 things that I'm grateful for. So as I'm doing my breathing in 4s, I might add in something I'm grateful for. And I don't rush through it. I don't list the 3 things really fast. I spend time really feeling that gratefulness for whatever it is that I'm grateful for. And my go-to are my animals. So I'm so grateful that my animals were so cute this morning. They're just so sweet. Miss Marple came over and gave me a kiss this morning. Oh, that was so nice. I really loved that. So now I'm spending time with that, and those chemicals are going into my body. They're countering the adrenaline, and they're triggering the parasympathetic response system, which is the calming system. And it takes really, about only 2 minutes. If you can do 2 minutes of this breathing, adding in some gratitudes, it will help pull you out of that fight or flight response system. It's not a huge time crunch thing. Just try and spend about 2 minutes doing that. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but on average, it takes about 2 minutes. Sometimes it's faster. 2 minutes, okay? Try and do that. And if you're on that hamster wheel a lot in the beginning, guess what? You might want to do the tools of the 2-minute breathing and gratitudes a lot. I know a lot of people say, oh, I do my gratitudes every morning. That's wonderful. But you know what? You're triggered throughout the day. So if you're only doing it in the morning, it's not going to hold you when you get triggered. You got to do it. You got to do it when we're also triggered. So do it regular throughout the day. Anytime you feel triggered, even if you're not sure, do it. It hasn't hurt anything, right? So the more we get into the practice of doing the breathing and gratitudes, it's just good stuff. Okay. And of course, we want to get rid of trapped emotions because the trapped emotions are like the gas pedal. They're sitting there waiting for us to get triggered. And so if we can get rid of that trapped emotions, we just give ourselves a little bit of space then, because it's just not as much of the habit is still there, but the hard trigger, we can remove some of that hard trigger. So even though we get a little bit of a trigger, it just kind of gives us enough space that we can recognize when we're in that triggered state. Okay. And then the last thing I do, what I talk about in my example of hiring the business coach, is I try to look at it from a different perspective, because when we're on lizard brain, when lizard brain is taking over, we want to follow the same pattern. It's comfortable. It's our comfort zone is following that pattern. It's what helped us through, what we think helped us through in past experiences, and may not have had the best results, but to lizard brain, it doesn't really care about results. It's just, that's just how we did it. This is how we do it. This is our habit. So we want to look at those patterns. But when we get out of that lizard brain, go, I don't want to do it that way again. So how do I look at it different? What's another perspective? What's another angle to look at this situation? How can I word this differently? My niece is going to go on the cliff. Oh, my initial reaction is to worry. No, I don't want that energy to go out to her. I want to shift it to a different perspective. I'd rather send this energy out. Oh, I have a big meeting ahead that is sort of kind of stressful. I might have some conflict and have to get my point across. And I'm nervous. I don't like getting in front of a lot of people and talking about stuff, right? Whatever it might be. What can I do? I'm going to breathe, do some gratitudes. I'm going to send out, when I'm ahead at the meeting, I'm just going to send out a lot of love and above to the meeting. I'm going to flood the room with love above. You may not, can't hurt anything, but at least I'm going to send out that really nice frequency, and I don't have any control over the rest of the meeting, but at least I can send that nice energy ahead of time and flood the room. And you know what? A lot of times that's enough right there. It changes the energy of the room. It really does. More people, I've seen it happen. I've experienced it myself. I've done it. And all of a sudden the meeting goes as smoothly as can be. It's like, oh, that was cool. What was I so stewed up about, right? It worked out just beautifully. Everybody was so cooperative, unbelievable, right? So you can change things just by changing the frequency that you're radiating. Because again, whatever you transmit out, somebody else is going to respond, and it might trigger them. And now they're in the conflict state. That's what happens with the lizard brain going into things. If we can shift that energy and go, oh, I'm going to just send out a lot of love and above ahead of time, you're just going to zen everybody out. So try it. I encourage you to try it. So this is what I'm talking about in love or above. So you can see the green. So anything above that, that's where we want to be. That's where we want to tune ourselves. So if we get triggered, I want to get us way up. So if you're fear, you can look at the fear. It's like that 100 level. It's really low. It's really slow moving. Even though the adrenaline is really fast, it's a slow moving chemical. It's fast to react, but then it gets stuck. Okay. So we don't want to go into those areas. We want to get into the really high frequency, pure energy. The higher we go, it's more pure white light. Think of that, white light. So that's what we're doing as we go in the love or above. And gratitude is up there around peace, between joy and peace. And I will also talk, if I'm really agitated, I'll tune myself to peace and calm. I call it peace and calm. And that works for conflict situations. My alpaca males, they will sometimes get into it with each other. And so if I see them, I'll just send out peace and calm. And 9 times out of 10, they stop fighting like that really fast. It feels so much better. So they go, oh, okay, that feels better. I'll just, peace and calm sounds good. Or if I go out and I'm triggered and I'm upset, and again, I'm a transmitter, I'm transmitting out my conflict or anger or frustration, and my males pick that up, they start fighting. And I go, oh, I don't want them to pick up my emotions. That's not nice of me. And so I quickly shift it. I do my breathing, do a couple of deep breaths, and I send out peace and calm. Sorry, boys, peace and calm, peace and calm. And they stop fighting immediately. So it's just really amazing how our energy can impact others that way. So it really works. Just tune yourselves to this level above. Okay. So let's see, what else do we have here? All right. So if you would like help, because I'm getting help, I'm hiring a coach. So everybody can use coaching on this stuff because it's sometimes really hard to see our own blocks. It just is. And I've done it. I've worked on myself. I work on myself constantly. But there's certain things that I just don't see, but somebody else can see really clearly and hone right in and point that out to me. And it's like, oh, thank you. That helps a lot. So hiring somebody to give you some good coaching is really key to help you get started. And then it's easier to tackle more things after you go through the process a couple times. So what I recommend is start with the starter package. You get a 45-minute session, and we can discuss your specific issue, tailor it to your specific needs. It could be physical and or emotional habits that are impacted by whatever are your triggers. And I coach these tools specifically to you, helping you come up with wordings and a process and coach you through it a few times so that you can learn and get comfortable with it. Because when we're triggered, sometimes we forget what the heck are we supposed to do. That's how lizard brain works. So we need some coaching to help us get into the habit, the new habit that we're creating. And then we also just release as much trapped emotions as we can, as your higher self suggests we release that's related to this issue, or just whatever might be needed from that your higher self says we need to release these things. So we're going to release a bunch of trapped emotions, rebalance your whole energy system, and tune you nice and high, and again get you out again real well balanced. And so that all happens in the 45 minutes. You also receive the 15-minute session is so important. The follow-up 15-minute continues the healing process. Okay, it continues the momentum of healing. It continues the momentum of changing the habit. So that 15 minutes is really, really key and very, very important. And we get a lot done in 15 minutes. So we release some more trapped emotions, answer some questions, because there's always more questions of how do I do this, or did I do it right, or whatever it might be, or I forgot how to do it. Can you give me another pointer on how to do this? So we can get that done in the 15 minutes. Okay. So and then I rebalance your energy again. So we get a lot done in that 15-minute session. And that's all included in that starter package. And if you have any questions on it, just shoot me an email, or you can give me a call on my office line. So, all right. So what's coming up? Well, tonight, right after, we're going to do a healing circle, but we're also going to just have a healing circle this Saturday at noon. And that'll be, we're really building some nice momentum in our healing circles as well. They've gotten more and more powerful lately. So we're really tuning in and getting some really good energy flowing during these healing circles. So the next one will be Saturday. Also next Wednesday, we're going to do just the healing circle. No webinar next Saturday, next Wednesday. The next webinar will be on February 9th. I'm actually kind of switching things up. We're going to do another intuitive listening webinar, usually alternate with animals. But I thought, it's before Valentine's Day. So let's do the listening webinar and talk about the energy of relationships and fear and sacred contracts of love. So we're going to kind of focus that topic about around that holiday. Okay. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out. I have a contact page on my website, yourenergyhealer.com. You can reach out to me that way, or you can call me at 541-658-5062, and I can put it in the chat box afterwards. So you can have that. All right. So I'm going to stop my share, and I think got some questions here. So yes, Cheryl, we'll get to you. Um, so, and Cheryl wrote, I have lower back issues on the right side. That makes sense with money security issues. Okay, so we'll work on that in a second. And Sprite wrote, such good reminder for me and my horses. Yeah, our horses like are so intuitive. They're like alpacas that way. They have big hearts, and so they're really and they're herd animals, so they're just super intuitive. So whatever we're experiencing emotionally, they're picking up. They're totally picking it up. They're picking it up a lot of times faster than we are. So again, my alpacas do hold the mirror up for me when I'm in my little lizard brain and I'm out there and I'm just whatever's spinning in my noodle. They'll let me know, and they let me know usually if I'm in the more anger state, I get spat at or kicked. So it's a very good mirror. Oh, okay, I guess I am in a crappy mood. Sorry, guys. So they don't want, why would they want to be around me? You're bad. You got bad energy. Go ahead. Right. So they spit at me. So of course I tend to spit back too sometimes. So it doesn't work. But a lot of times I go, okay, you guys are right. I'm sorry. And I try and retune myself. Or I warn them ahead of time. I do try and warn them. I go, I'm in a bad mood, so you might want to keep your distance. So those are things that we can at least be mindful of, because I know that we radiate out, and our horses, our animals, our dogs, cats, they can totally pick up our emotional state. Then again, they pick it up quite often faster than we do. Ash, a couple things you mentioned I've heard before, and I feel I should be doing them, but I have some massive resistance. Any tips on how to move past resistance? That is freeze. That's lizard brain saying freeze. So yeah, the tools I talked about, that will help you unfreeze yourself. It's just getting in the habit of breathing. And again, there's some extra tools and techniques to add into you to get you moving. But it's really start with the breathing practice. The first things are always breathe and add in the gratitudes. And quite often that is enough. But if there's more, then we definitely want to coach you on a couple other little techniques to get you into action movement. It's getting you into action step. Okay. But I'm glad you wrote that down, because the should is one of those words. It's one of the tells is indicating that you're going into lizard brain mode. And there's certain key words that will, if you hear that you say these words, I should do this, I need to do this, I could have done that. I wished I'd done that. Right? But need, should, could. That's sending you right into lizard brain. Because if you really needed to do it, you do it. But if you're not doing it and you say you need to do it, that means lizard brain just jumped in and said, and told you, oh, let's procrastinate because we don't like doing this, and can make you gives you really good sabotaging language that says, don't do it. And you listen, right? You listen to it. So if you're freezing and you're resisting to doing things, that's lizard brain talking. So just become conscious. It's a win every time, even if you don't change the outcome, if you're still following the pattern, but it's a huge win every time you realize lizard brain just took over. Okay. I'm in lizard brain. I'm resisting doing this. Okay, well, that's because lizard brain is talking to me. Get comfortable realizing this is that little wommit's a part of your brain driving your life and making decisions for you. And then the next thing to do is, do I really want that part of my brain making this decision for me? You can ask that question. And the answer is no. Well, maybe you're stuck because you don't know what else to do. That's when we need to get the coaching, because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do to break the pattern. So get some coaching on that. We can get you through that, clear some of the trapped emotions. And sometimes just getting rid of the trapped emotions is sufficient and you get going too. So I never know quite what all we need to do. But there's lots of layers, but I guarantee you, you get to experience every one of these, but depending on some issues, we need more things. And then other things, that's all what we need to do is just breathe. Again, sometimes breathing is enough to get us out of it. And we're in action mode. Okay. It just really depends what the trigger is and how much the emotion is. Sandy, I did get your message, but you messaged it to me, so I won't share with everybody. So yeah, so we can help clear some of those trapped emotions. And again, those are some of the things that we want to shift that energy from, again, the worry state to going into action. And what do I have impact on? Those are perfect examples of, if I'm worrying about something and I'm just stewing over it, we're in that circle of concern. How do we get into the circle of influence? What can I do? I can breathe to begin with. I just need to breathe and get into my better thinking brain. Okay, maybe add in some gratitudes, do a few gratitudes. Okay. Now, okay, what can I do? What are some action steps I could take? What can I do to solve some of these problems I have? Maybe I need to get more coaching. Maybe I can do some research on the internet. I don't know, whatever it is, now you're coming into problem solving tasks. Okay, now I have a problem. Okay, tax time is coming up. This is always a good one. Okay, money stuff. I hate bookkeeping. I want to avoid it. Oh, nope, I really want to get my taxes done really fast this year. Okay, so I feel triggered, breathe, gratitude. What would it take to get my taxes going faster this year? I'll get my receipts and all of it being entered in. I'm going to pull up my spreadsheet. I'm just going to get my spreadsheet ready to send to the accountant. I'm going to get that ready. That's my first task. And you chunk it down into really simple tasks. Then I can do that. I have that. How long would that take? That's going to take me about 15 minutes today. Okay, I think I have 15 minutes. I'm going to do that in my next 15-minute slot that I have available. I'm going to get my spreadsheet all ready so that all I have to do is start entering data. You know what? I'm going to collate and print out this. How long is that going to take me? Oh, that's going to take me another 15 minutes. Okay, I can do that during this time. So now I'm in the action step. And you know what? When I come up with the 15 minutes, I do it. And generally, a lot of times, okay, that took only 5 minutes. I got another 10 minutes. What else can I do? And once I get going, I keep going. Okay. And then there's the other key thing. Okay. I did an action step and I may not have accomplished the whole thing. And that's the other piece that a lot of people then go, I did the whole thing. So I can still beat myself up. That's lizard brain. So instead, what I do now is, okay, I did the one thing, maybe the two things that I said I wanted to do in those 15 minutes. Guess what I tell myself? Good job. You did it. Yes. We accomplished something. Yay. Period. The end. So I reward myself and I appreciate that I did something right. Or not right, but I did it. I just did it. And I noticed that felt really good. I accomplished that. And it worked. It worked. It actually worked. Yay. Okay. So I spend time appreciating the win. Okay. Because I'm very good at, if you're like me, I'm very good at saying, well, you blew it. You wasted all that time. You said you needed to do it and you didn't do it. You screwed around, you goofed around, you blah, 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 and you beat yourself up. And we're very good at that. But when we do something right, do you actually say, good job? So that's an important piece to add in the appreciation when you do it right. Because you're more likely to do it more again. Because you notice that it felt good. Animals are great. This is why I like working with animals too, is they know what feels better. and they tend to want to stick with whatever felt better. So if changing the habit means it went from something that didn't feel good to doing something that feels better, and they got rewarded for it with praise or a cookie or a pat, they're going to keep doing the thing that feels good. We humans like to hang on to our baggage because we're listening to lizard brain. Okay, so we want to get out of that pattern. Anything else? Okay, you guys had great questions. So, Cheryl, are you still around? Let's see. You can unmute yourself if you're there. There you are. I see you. If you can unmute, okay. I will go ahead and tap in if you'd like. And you said you have. Hi, welcome. So you talked about lower back issues on your right side, and it makes sense with money and security issues. Okay, so I'm going to tap in. And is your back? Are you feeling it right now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's track that. See if we can't budget. Oh yeah, I can feel it too now. It's kind of right above the hip area a little bit. Yeah. Frustration.
Yes.
Sometimes I can often tell you the age the trapped emotion originally was trapped, got stuck. I'm not sure that's important right now. Is that important right now? No. Okay, so I'm just going to clear it. Sometimes it's important to know because it's important to find out when the habits got started. It makes sense. So, lack of control. Nope. Budget yet. Unworthy. Clear that. Nope. Not yet. Discouragement. Clear. There. I did feel a release there. Better pop. I didn't fully budget. It might have knocked it down just a tad. It's still there though. Overwhelmed, clearing that. Failure, clearing that. Oh, stubbornness, clearing that. Creative insecurity, clearing that. Creative insecurity is slightly different than insecurity. Creative insecurity can be either, we're truly artists or, afraid of showing your gifts. But it also can be related to blockages to finding what your higher self, your authentic self, seeing your authentic self.
That's interesting.
Kind of letting it settle for a second. Depression. Feel the spot. There's a trigger point right there. Oh, anxiety, clearing that. Okay. There we go. Has it dropped down in discomfort?
Oh, I can definitely feel like something going on there.
Going on in a good way or in a bad way?
I just feel like it's like I have tingling going on and like up my spine.
Okay. Those, I would say, are good signs. We're getting some movement in there. What I suggest we do is, because there's still, I can tell there's some blockage right there. I can actually see the spot that's hooked in. So if you stay on in the healing circle, my guides and I will go in there and work on it more intensely.
Oh my,
Um,
God,
but
That's
it's stuck. There is some stuck energy still there that doesn't want to let go. We might need some coaching and figuring out what the habit. There's something that wants attention and it's hanging on. There's a purpose to hang on because it wants your attention.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
I
so, but we can work on that. We can definitely figure out what that is so that you can move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else want to experience it if you haven't already, or you would like to?
Yeah, I would.
Who's that? I can't.
Right.
Oh,
Sprite.
Sprite. Hi, Sprite. Okay. So let me tap in this Sprite. Heartache is the first one. I'm going to release that. Depression, clearing that. Anxiety, clearing that. Pride, clearing that. Helplessness, clearing that. Starting to feel your energy slowing down, which is a good thing in this case. It's starting to receive the energy coming in. I'm going to release defensiveness, clearing that. Worry, clearing that. Overwhelm, clearing that. Your neck is still not feeling great. Is it stiff going to the left side?
No, right side.
Right side, okay. Sometimes my left and right. Although, okay, the trapped emotion is on the left, but it's affecting the right. So that can happen. Anxiety, clearing that. Clearing that. Oh, it's in your sixth chakra. I just went hoarse. So your voice. Yeah. No, it's in your throat chakra. What's there? You got a distortion in there, which would affect your neck. So it's about verbalizing things. So that would be let's clear creative insecurity. There, it just released. Now try it, going to your right and left. Is that still stuck?
It feels a little bit better, but yeah, still stuck. But definitely feels a little bit better. It's a right rib and then the same exact place in my back. But it already feels a little bit, it already feels a little bit lighter.
So same thing. Let's put this in the healing circle. It's good
Okay.
information, and my guides and I are going to really work in more detail and depth. And I'm actually planning on working on the throat chakra today because I already got told to do that ahead of time. So we're going to work on that for everybody. If you stay on, even if you can't stay on, I'm going to put y'all in this healing circle, whether you stay on or not. So if that's all right with you, we'll work
I'm gonna
on
stay on. I'm gonna
Great.
stay on just as long as I don't fall asleep. I'm in
Okay,
bed.
well, if you fall asleep, that's okay. So, you know,
Yeah, it's a good way to fall asleep.
exactly, exactly. It's where whatever you need to do, you know. All
Thank you.
right, so thank you. And of course, if we need more, you can always reach me through my website or email me or call me and we'll get you in. Anybody else would you like to experience? We got, okay, Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi. So anything specific you want me to work on or?
Well, my fibromyalgia's been acting up with the weather and the stress, so it's mostly like a fatigue energy thing. I don't know
Okay.
if that's a single point or if I
I don't know. Let's just trust your
want
higher
to check,
self.
want to check it out and see what's in there.
Exactly. Let's just trust your higher self to know exactly what we need to release to help support your system. You know, fibromyalgia is a system issue, so we just need to work on the whole system. And I'm a systems engineer, so I like that. I prefer system work. So tapping in. So call A. Discouragement, releasing that. Grief. Oh, okay. I'm getting told I need to give you an age for grief. Can you tell me your current age? Do you mind?
I'm 39. I'll be 40 in a couple of weeks.
I'm accurate plus or minus year just for that reason. So, age 23 of a grief got lodged in. And I felt like I wanted to yawn. I'm not sleepy. So my yawns, if you see me yawning, it's because I'm releasing. Yawns are big releases. And you see it a lot. If I am ever releasing trapped emotions off an animal, they yawn. That is one of the tells that it's working as they yawn. So that's a good sign that we release that. Okay. Okay. So I'm getting that there was some traumatic, something happened traumatic when you were in the womb. I don't know if that makes any sense. If you know any stories. Of course, it's not going to be in a memory. It is in your memory. It isn't in a verbal center because we weren't able to talk back then. So unless you heard stories about it, that doesn't matter. We're just going to clear it. But those are important. And those things that happen in the womb like that do tend to impact our system more. It can impact our, especially the first chakra a lot, which is our tribal center, which then, I don't know if you've had more anxiety or depression most of your life. Have you had strong emotions like that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's because, and I'm getting the chills here, so I'm on the right path. It's because of things that, whatever these experiences that your mother was experiencing got transferred into the womb, and you were tissue in her womb, and our issues get stuck in our tissue. So whatever she was experiencing, again, mini radar went right into you and it got stuck in your tissue. It didn't necessarily get stuck in hers, it got stuck in you because you were part of her body system at the time.
Right.
And so having that, and it could have happened during birth, I'm not sure, but it would happen at some point in the womb. And when we have that, and I'm even thinking, I'm getting more that it did happen while you were getting born, so probably birth trauma of some sort, that when we have that, where especially where breathing can be impacted for any time, think about it. If we're choke or something, you kind of go panic, right? And so when it happens at such a young age, like infancy, again, not in our verbal center. And so, but every time like we go to sleep and we go into a deeper sleep, we may slow our breathing down to such a point that it triggers us. We go into a PTSD response, which causes us anxiety. And we have that anxiety from day one. So if we can help clear that trapped emotion, that can help. And it also then can sets the trend then, because you've been more adrenaline based from such an early age. Our adrenals can't keep up. You're, even as an infant, you're pouring all these fight or flight response system in. That messes with your
System.
your system. Exactly, which then leads to people having issues like fibromyalgia and other systemic issues, the autoimmune type things, which are a system issue, right? So we can help to a certain extent by getting rid of these trapped emotions. We can certainly help change the habit of what the trapped emotion and that constant anxiety that you go through. We can retrain your system, your mind system, to shift out of that, get rid of those trapped emotions, or at least a whole big bunch of them. We can work on getting rid of a lot of those things so that, again, your now your natural healing abilities can kick in more and recover. Okay, well, we got to work on putting in a whole lot more of the parasympathetic response system. So for you, I would encourage you look up T-Touch, and it's TTOUCH. I'll type it in. Let me see. I need to change this to everyone.
T-touch for myself.
Uh-huh. TTOUCH. And there's T-Touch for humans. It's also for animals, but you just start doing it. And I would work my ears, work your ears a lot.
Mm.
Well, so he touches in your ears, on your third eye, your heart hug. Do a heart hug. But anywhere that, especially if you have discomfort in your body, I would work on that. Just keep doing T-touches, because that, when it triggers the parasympathetic response system, and it's very calming, it's very soothing, it gets you, and it retrains your system, because again, sometimes our calming system isn't, and we haven't used it enough. I see this a lot with animals that have been abused or neglected, didn't get a good start in life, that are just adrenaline based animals. They don't know how to turn on their calming system. So we have to retrain their body system, how to get that working again. We have to kind of prime the pump. So by doing the T-touches on our bodies can retrain us how to get to access that calming system. And you know what? It actually can sometimes trigger us, because the calming relaxes us, and then it's like, oh, you're gonna stop breathing. So we have to retrain and then use that habit of going, no, I'm fine. I'm not, I can do breathe. See, I am doing it. So and then you add in the gratitudes, and all, use every tool. We gotta throw as many tools. You want to have as many tools as we can, because we never know which one is going to work in that given moment. So we want to coach you a lot of tools. Okay.
Thank you.
So try and take a nice deep breath, and we'll work on you again in the healing circle. Anybody else? Anything quick? Like Lenny? All right, so we're a little past the top of the hour, so I'm going to stop recording.